All right, welcome back to the YAP podcast. Today I am joined by Brok Neilsen. Now, this is a very, very, very special episode or installment of the YAP podcast because Brok is actually the first ever guest on the podcast, believe it or not.
Hey, amazing.
So, so welcome back. Brok Nielsen, Managing Director of Together Agency and Director of Creative Cult. Brok has worked in entertainment, nightlife, and marketing for years, helping brands, venues, and artists craft experiences that stick. Does that sound about right?
That is very correct.
I got some more. but what but what makes Brock stand out isn't just his business chops. It's also that he's a proud girl dad. And if you look at his LinkedIn, you'll see he's got one of the coolest titles around. Good time supplier. We're gonna see how accurate that is today. Um, no, but Brock, I'm really, really, really excited to have you on as our first ever guest. Before we dive into like the main topics, could you just tell us and the audience just a little bit about you and your background, how you got started in this space, just anything you want to get off your chest? Now is the time to do so.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, I am a proud girl dad. My daughter's 5 years old, and it's probably the one thing I stick very closely to my personality. It's something that it's why I love running my own business. It allows you affords you the time to be able to do special
Yeah,
things with your family. But from that, I've grown three businesses now. I'm a direct, as you said, director in Creative Cult, which is another, I'm like 50-50 partner and advisor there.
yeah,
Socially Wed, which is the social media business for weddings. Again, I'm about a 30% owner of that business and just, again, advisor, director. But my big baby is Together Agency, repping
yes,
the shirt today, where we just do DJ hire for venues and events. Where we differ in the market is we connect instead of just going, here's a package and we'll just give you a DJ. We look at honing in on what the client wants in
yeah,
particular, and then going, okay, here's three or four DJs that we think are going to fit into that. So we're connecting the client with the talent that's going to suit them, their personality, their vibe,
yeah,
and the music. Just kind of taking the guesswork. So it's like what we've realized is proof, social proof is
yeah,
something that's become really big now over the last 2, 3 years. And probably before that, but something that we've just experienced further over the last 2, 3 years, especially after
sure,
COVID. That clients are really just looking for to be assured when they
yeah, of
purchase something. So it's like
course,
instead of just offering them a service, it's like, okay, you pick the talent. It's like
yeah,
here's who we recommend. You choose from that list.
yeah.
And it's been working amazing. We just launched in Sydney and we're launching in Melbourne in about 3 months.
Oh, nice, congratulations. And you
Yeah.
started in Gold Coast?
Yeah. Gold Coast,
Okay,
Brisbane.
cool.
Yeah.
And how long has that been going for?
7 years.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Not too far from the 10-year anniversary. That's good. That's good. Double digits. Double digits. Yeah, that's really exciting. Yeah, I didn't know about the socially wed thing because like all I was going off of was like a couple of Google searches here and there, and I couldn't find that on your LinkedIn. But tell me more about that side of business. What? So it's
Yeah,
a
man, it's
social
it's
media
some
side for weddings?
yeah, it's something. So I a close friend of mine, the actual my business partner with Creative Cult, his partner.
Yep.
So
Oh, okay.
they're both super smart,
Nice.
and both go getters. Chandler, she came up with an idea, and she'd seen it kind of previously before in the market on socials, and it was like social media creators going to weddings and creating content.
Okay.
And I was like, as soon as I heard the idea, I was like, sorry if I'm not allowed to swear, but I was like, fucking hell, that
Yeah.
is the idea. Like, I got tingles straight. I'm getting goosebumps now
Yeah.
thinking about it because there is no place in the world where that's not where everything's going to go for
Yeah.
weddings, especially. And what we've realized in the market in the last 12, just in the last 12 months, even probably a little bit before that, was couples are now like, because 10K is probably where you're going to sit for a wedding video.
Yep.
No one fucking wants to sit through 5 to 10 minutes video like your nan maybe and you guys once. um what's happening now is like we go on site, we give you 1,000 pieces of content,
Damn.
1,000, and then we cut probably like our best package is like we cut 6 videos
Yep.
from that, and that can be these hit you can go, here's the trending music, here's what I want it to kind of look like, and then we'll do like a 30 to 60 second video,
Yep.
5 to 6 of those.
Yep.
And mate, the reviews from it, the scale, like already we've been able to put the price up 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
And I think it should go like we should probably be charging double what we're currently charging, but we
yeah,
just want to continue to, you know, ease in the
yeah.
market. But it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, because yeah, I mean, I don't have too much experience in that scene, but yeah, you can imagine that like there hasn't been much innovation in that field, like
And no
since
one
it
wants to
started.
change. So
Yeah,
many of the videographers and photographers are pissed off at what we're doing. They think
yeah,
it's not traditional. And it's
yeah.
like, well,
There's yeah,
no one's sitting on their fucking computer
no,
watching a YouTube video of their wedding. They want to watch it on their
no,
phone.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's weird. Like I've never thought of a wedding video and have it not be vertical. Like we're always consuming everything vertical. Sorry, yeah, vertical, not horizontal.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I saw this video recently on my TikTok for you page where it was just like these people that like, and I don't know if this is like an extra idea I'm just throwing into the business right now, but
Yeah, man,
it's
I'd
basically
bring it
this,
on.
it's this idea of like they filmed the wedding like an office, like the office, and it's so funny, it's so good because it captures everybody in the wedding that you want to see, but it just gives this like
All the
comedic twist that you
characters.
like. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's so good, it's so good, so good. It's one way to like film a wedding. I
Yeah.
liked it, but yeah. All right, let's get into it then. The hype or fraudulence of CGI ads. Now, CGI is massive. It's been on the rise, obviously, since the dawn of times. Um, Now, though, it's getting better than ever. It also is getting more expensive than ever. Now,
Mm.
have you had any experiences or any? Have you ran into any CGI ads? Have you worked with any? What's you like when I say CGI ads? What do you think of?
Yeah, so I think right now the most common stuff that the people out there they're going to see and that I see the most are popular locations in whatever country you're in
Yep,
with some sort of marketing campaign around that. So New Yorkers will be Empire State Building.
yep.
Australians will be Sydney Harbour Bridge. I mean, New Zealand, you can let me know what's the popular
Sky City,
location. Sorry?
Sky City Tower, Sky City
Yeah.
Tower. It's an awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you haven't seen a CGI ad that involves Sydney Harbour Bridge or at least Bondi Beach
yeah,
on your socials, then you've been asleep and you've not been on Instagram very much.
yeah,
Yeah, it's why I feel like it's been a great topic at the moment is because there is still this disconnect. Like why it's working so well still and creating so much garnering so much reach is people my age that haven't been in marketing or being like I grew up on computers. I studied programming. I did all that, so I've always been connected to the internet and
yeah,
computers. But other people my age are just so disconnected that a CGI ad that we would look at straight away and go, "Oh, that's CGI."
yeah,
Um, like we did one recently with GHD where there's hair flowing off
yeah.
of it, and they're like, the first comments like, "Oh, I hope that
How?
hair doesn't get. I hope that hair doesn't get in the harbor and like poison the fishes." And like a serious comment, and you're
Yeah,
like, you
yeah,
laugh at it, and you're like, but that's where
yeah,
that's still like that can be the next decade still of marketing with
yeah,
CGI. So it's like, do you want to create enough reach and I suppose speaking and like commenting around your posts?
yeah,
CGI could be the way, but it's definitely going to get cheaper and there's
yeah,
rendering. I don't know if everyone knows that, but like what a rendering farm is. So with CGI,
yep,
you have to animate and create this product, but then it's such a big file that it's got to be rendered down. I
yep.
mean, that time will start to get taken
Shorter.
away. Rendering farms
Yeah,
will get cheaper.
yeah,
So I think it's not going to leave, but I think the rise of I've seen a lot of PR agencies now that just pop up and are just doing CGI, and the
yeah.
products I've seen coming out of them are very lackluster
Yeah,
or
because
more
I
fake
remember
looking.
yeah I remember one of the ones that I first saw initially was like some jewelry brand. I can't remember their name for the life of me, but basically they had like rings stacked onto the tower, and like for somebody that's like me that's just like swiping through like hundreds or thousands of stores every day,
Yeah,
it's so eye catchy.
yeah,
Like yeah, I mean yes, there's the idea that like oh I can tell it's CGI right away, but it's still impressive. Like it's technically impressive to do. So like
mm,
you're kind of like tapping into both audiences. You're tapping into the audience that like knows it's CGI and is like impressed by it, but then you're tapping into the people that are like, what is this real? Shares it on Facebook to like every friend they have. So
Mm.
it's yeah, it's a really cool thing where like you're tapping into like both sides at the same time.
I think where it can get like the really viral moments is because it's like, for some people it's just using a location, like
Yep,
it's like, oh wow, like as I said, Sydney Harbour. Um, but I think where you can really nail it is the location, like really enhancing and matching the product.
yep,
So it's like where it kind of switches over into this place where it looks like it's really being used in that location, or it's
yep,
like a part of the scenery, essentially,
yep,
rather than just being, oh, we did a CGI style poster that comes to life on the
yep.
side of a billboard. And
Yeah.
they're the ones that I've seen that have been like, you really, you just kind of taken aback and you're like, oh, wow, thank you for creating this.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like let me ask this. So, do you think that it makes a lot of the times when these like new, I guess like advancements in technologies or in any industry, like people start wanting to spam them or people start wanting to like hurry up and like just
Mm.
rinse the concept. So, how would you go about managing a brand having not like is having
Trying
the
to stop them
CGI
from
at
doing it too much.
yeah, like
Yeah.
how do
Yeah.
you not make it a gimmick thing rather than like oh a cool thing that we do every once in a while?
That's the toughest part, I think, at
Yeah,
the moment is you're starting to, we're getting into shopping centers, local stores, smaller e-com brands.
yeah,
The price, as I said, as the price starts to come down, you get into a
yeah,
place where it's kind of doing it for the sake of doing it rather than trying to create something special.
yeah,
Um, I don't think you're ever going to be able to
yeah,
avoid that in the marketing world. Like people will always see a gap, and
yeah,
then what are we now? Like I think in our initial notes that we discussed, the KFC one was 2019.
yeah.
We're
That's what.
2025 now.
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
where it kind of 2018, 2019 is where it started, and we're
yeah,
now only in the place where it's much more common,
yeah.
and it's probably not saturated yet, really.
Yeah, no, like in terms like maybe to you and I we see it more than the average person because we're in this field, but
Yeah.
like to an average person, they've probably seen one max five CGI ads in their life. You know what I mean? But to us, since we like see and know it all, it's kind of like I'm like yeah, I guess there's one way to think about it is that no, you should take yourself out of like the marketer shoes and be like, no, to an average person, this is not a hack. This is not something that's like rinsed. This is actually a new concept that hasn't been around for just under like 5 years or so.
It's
Yeah.
still, yeah, it's still the pricing's still just out of your average small business's reach.
Yep.
So it's still inaccessible in that sense of like price versus need, I
Yep.
suppose. Probably in the next 2 to 10 years we'll see it we'll get sick of it.
Yeah.
But I don't think, marketers, that's what we do best is
Yeah.
we make something until everyone's sick of it, and then we're like, what's
Yeah.
next?
Yeah. In terms of that, so like you've said you've worked on a CGI campaign with for a brand.
Yeah.
Okay. Now roughly ballpark, you don't have to obviously give me the actual figure, but how much would something like that cost?
Um, so we're in the ballpark of like 5 to 10K
Okay.
for
And that's
one off.
Australian
Yeah,
dollars.
Australian AED, yeah.
Yep.
Um, you would see some of the bigger campaigns. So we know what a lot of the bigger guys are charging, and that's like where you're looking at a brand like Foot Locker might be doing something. They're looking in the
Yep.
50 to 100K. But that's where you're looking at something that's, you know, our CGI's the what CGI that work we've been doing is real and looks good.
Yep.
But like I've seen some of the stuff where the bigger guys are doing it, and you're like, wow,
You can tell
that
it's
that is
cheap.
in no, no, no. Like the bigger guys are doing it, like that's you can
Oh,
see it's
the good stuff.
incredible.
I was like,
Yeah, the
um,
level, the level. But
yeah.
then yeah, you can go below that. Like there's still you know, Filipino designers and stuff like that that are still doing
Yep.
this kind of stuff.
Yep.
where you can access it for like 1,000 to 1,500, but that you can see is
Yeah.
really like you're like, oh, this is obviously
Yeah.
just fake. But yeah,
Mm,
it's not your everyday marketing campaign. It's like
yeah.
you know, you might do it once a year for something, but yeah, in that 5 to 10K mark, I think is probably like the middle ground.
Now, okay, when you're yeah, okay, when you say those numbers and you see like a and I don't know if it's whether it be on purpose or not, wherever you see like a low budget CGI ad go viral, does that hurt? Does that make you optimistic for the future? How does that make you feel?
I mean, there's no world where that doesn't hurt,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
But it's also, I think you got to learn that you got to use that like anything that goes viral is, and I think you guys, I mean, watching attention seeker content has probably taught me the most about that kind of stuff, where it's you learn
yeah,
anything that wins, you learn from. So it's like,
yeah,
okay, did this win because it looks so budget, or was there another piece of this that we didn't
yeah,
quite catch? But yeah, in no world does anything that's cheaper than what you're doing or
yeah,
someone undercutting you, does that not hurt? Like that'll always
yeah.
hurt, but it's just trying to push through it, I suppose.
Yeah, because yeah, I think like with that stuff, like we have this like big thing, in, especially like at the attention seeker, is that like if you can prove it works with like a low budget or like a shitty quality or whatever, then you have a really good concept, and then because you could always scale the technical aspect,
Yeah.
but it's the actual concept that is like hard to nail down. That's like the actual gold in the rough.
Yeah, I mean that's beautiful, beautiful, like
Yeah.
poetic,
Oh,
essentially.
stop
Like
it.
you just said.
I try, I try. Can I ask that? Are there any, like, not to put you on the spot, but are there any bad CGI campaigns you've seen that are like, oh my God, like this looks horrible?
Um, I haven't really seen. Oh, I mean, I do. I've probably got a couple in my Instagram DMs that
Yeah.
we've gone backwards and forwards of, but it's always like just a you know like it's just a cheaper ecom brand that's just
Yeah.
trying to access the hype.
Yeah.
You know, it might be sunscreen, and it's just like the bottle pops up, you know, and the lid opens or something like that, and you're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, what's the purpose of this? You know, like
Yeah.
what you know, marketing, a good marketing is meant to tell a story, not
Yeah.
just stop the scroll. You know,
Yeah.
there's meant to be something else there that's like, oh, I want to purchase this. Why am I wanting to purchase this product other than
Yeah.
you've just gone,
Fuck. Yeah.
there's a bottle on screen, quick, purchase it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's as I said, like that's where I think any marketing can go wrong is where you are just accessing this
Yeah.
thing. You've seen something that's worked, but you haven't looked into why it's worked.
Yeah.
You've just gone, oh, it's CGI. Cop,
Yeah.
copy paste CGI. How cheap can
Yeah.
we? How cheap can we access that for? Cool.
Yeah.
Our product CGI done.
Yeah.
You know.
No, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. It's really interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely an exciting scene to be in, and yeah, I look forward to what's coming. Do you have any predictions of how side of how that side of campaigns is gonna go?
Well, I think more and more because right now we've rinsed, in my opinion, and
Yep.
obviously in the average consumer, as we said, their opinion, they're like CGI what? Um, but I think locations is over. I think that should be let go of after this year.
Yeah.
And I think more and more it should be like, um, how is where is my product coming to the what I'm trying to tell the story in CGI? It's like why have I chosen CGI?
Yeah.
And trying to get more creative with telling a story with how the CGI kind of enters into that and more subtle as well. I think right
Yeah.
now the big uh grandiose statement of like here is a big bottle in the Sydney Harbour
Yeah.
floating along. You know, I think
Yeah.
the oversized CGI has been real popular at the moment,
Yeah.
essentially. Like and I think it'll become more, oh, was that CGI?
Yeah.
Like I think understated will become more of a trend in the
Yeah.
future.
I saw recently a video again. I keep seeing these videos, man. But I saw recently a video about on this TikTok, and it's basically. I mean, you can definitely tell it's AI, but it's like a camel parachuting down, but it looks so ultra realistic that people in the comments are actually going back and forth fighting whether it's real or not. So like, I think yeah, just stuff like that could yeah it's definitely
Yeah,
a
where
step in
it's
the right
really
direction.
subtle. Like that's
Yeah,
because CGI is so good now, and as I said, as it gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, I think we'll get into really subtle
yeah,
changes to things where it's like, oh,
yeah,
is that so? You need to
yeah,
get away from the conversations of like, boomers. Sorry, boomers. I'm a boomer. In the comments, going, why are we doing this for marketing now? We're polluting the earth, and it's like, no, it's
yeah,
just CGI. It's all
yeah,
good. So
yeah. Calm down.
we need to get into that where it's literally like people going, is this real or is this
Yeah,
fake?
yeah,
And really going at it and being passionate about
yeah,
that, I think will be
yeah. That's
a
what.
much better
Yeah,
use.
yeah. That would be like the goal, I think, for a lot of campaigns. It's just like, yeah, create confusion or something. Yeah,
Yeah, create
fair enough.
confusion.
Yeah. All right. So if you're getting sick of CGI ads, I have no better way to transition. But clean living is in trend now, and so with clean living, fitness, and sober lifestyles on the rise, nightlife feels like it's taken a hit, a little bit. Do you think we're seeing the end of traditional clubbing, or is the industry just going through a temporary identity crisis?
um, Yeah, so to give you some recent stats, I've been privy to, as
Yep.
being part of the industry, is we've seen a loss of about 150 clubs in the last 2 years, in
Wow.
Australia,
Yeah.
um, which is like
It's crazy.
that's massive, and that's just nightclubs. That's not like local operator
Yep.
cocktail bars in the area.
Yep.
And licenses are still being, people are still buying new ones, and that price. So a liquor license 15 years ago was about 5 grand. It's now 25 to 30K,
Yeah.
and will continue to rise, until the
Yeah.
government gets sick of increasing that price,
Yeah.
which, it's the government. They'll probably never get sick of increasing that price.
Yeah.
Um, with current market conditions, as you said, healthy living, I just think it's not necessary. Like people aren't sick of music. Like
No.
festivals are still working. Um, I think we hit a real boom. I mean, like everyone was spending money 2018 to 19 pre-COVID. Um, and that was for everything. Like every market looked good. You could have
Yeah.
bought anything, bought any business, and you would have done well pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Um, but coming out of that, I think people have become more thoughtful with their time,
Yeah.
and with connecting with other people. So it's brought on this, as you said, like healthy culture. And it's like, do clubs previously, and this, like I ran a club here in Australia for about 10 years,
Oh,
um, that we would only operate Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and sometimes not
right.
even Sunday,
Mm,
you know? So
yeah.
how do you look at a business that's viable and only operate it 2 days of the week? That's
Yeah.
why I think more than anything, maybe this changing culture is helping us identify, oh, maybe we need to look at different ways of running this space.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot in America, and you may have seen this on socials as well, is like cafes.
Yeah.
Early morning DJs in a cafe has
Yeah.
become quite popular in the US at the moment and Europe.
Yeah.
And then you're getting a lot of people, obviously run clubs getting more popular.
Yeah.
And then like ice bath communities that are surrounded like near cafes as well has become more
Yeah.
popular. So it's like, how can you build a cross venture in a venue that
Yeah.
might be able to access these things,
Yeah.
um, and really tap into that Monday to Friday like
Yeah.
morning
Yeah.
market
It's
rather than just nighttime.
it's really interesting because I at the end of last year I went to Rhythm and Vines R&V in
Hmm.
yeah, like here in Auckland, sorry, in Gisborne, and it was really interesting because Red Bull had like a booth that was like a activation of some sort of like gym class, like F45 type class, and I was like, there's no fucking way on earth that somebody's got to party till 2 a.m. and then come up the next morning for a 9 a.m. class doing Zumba and God knows what. But you'd be surprised. Like you'd wake up and you'd see like a line of dedicated people that were like off the rocks the night before, but are like really giving it their all in the fitness side of things.
Mm.
And so I don't know if it's a way to like if that's one way to fight the hangoverness, or if they're just not drinking as much, but they're still they're still immersing themselves into that environment, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's I think drinking culture has changed,
Yeah,
like to be honest. Um the the amount of especially like I think the Gold Coast is probably the epicenter of like for Australia sometimes with healthy style living because it's
yeah,
um where I live was just surrounded by beaches and
yeah,
nice cafes and sunny like outside it's beautiful weather right now and summer's like 6 months of the year essentially.
yeah,
So I'm really tapped into that more it used to be previously it was like, oh, because we had so much sunny weather and we're
yeah,
outside, drinking
yeah,
was part of
yeah,
that. Now it's more, have I got my Fitspo? Where's what's the latest gym wear I'm in?
yeah,
Am I on point with like the gear that the tees
yeah.
and gym shorts that I've got and shoes. So it, it it's kind of like how do you how do you find a place like where
Mm,
you can tell like you can bring all of that stuff with you at the same time because it's like you with drinking it's just gotten to this place where we still all want to drink but it's just so expensive
yeah,
now and
exactly.
like a lot of people don't understand and again being part of the industry I'm privy to this is like government taxes on alcohol again
Oh, okay.
also continues to
Yeah,
rise
yeah,
like they
yeah,
continue to increase the percentage that they're taking
yeah,
and more money. So it's like why alcohol keeps on going up is not because clubs hate you or bottle shops hate
yeah,
you. It's because
yeah,
our government continues to tax more and more and more. So to get alcohol landed in Australia from other
yeah,
countries, as well as kind of created in Australia, is becoming
yeah,
more and more expensive. So the government in itself is actually
yeah,
forcing us to stop drinking
yeah,
because less and less people can afford to do that kind of thing in bulk. Whereas you
yeah,
would go, I as a teenager, like I'm 42 this year, and when I was 18, it'd be like every single person that came over to my house on a Thursday would bring a bottle of alcohol. And now you'd be lucky to have someone show up with a six pack.
yeah. They
If
all
you have a
gotta chip in
party,
for a six pack.
yeah, if you have a party at your house, you're kind of expected to supply one or two bottles of alcohol.
Yeah,
Whereas previously, yeah, like you'd have a party at your house and you'd almost have to throw out alcohol after a couple of months because there'd be just so much
yeah,
shit at your house.
for sure. Yeah, it's really interesting. So just to double check, you don't run a club anymore, or do you?
I don't know.
Okay. Was it because it was just like losing money and it was just not viable to
Oh
run
no,
anymore?
so I was a manager and then I switched. That's why I started
Okay.
the agency.
Yep.
Is because what was it? I was 35 and I was just like, I can't. I don't want to stay up till 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the
Yeah.
morning anymore. I want
Yeah.
to get on with my life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. So if you were like if you put yourself in the shoes of a nightclub owner or like a club owner, whatever, do you double down on like just the do you double down on what you have and how much of a good environment it is, or do you try and embrace like the whole wellness side of things? Like I'm just thinking out loud, like is it worth having like a club, like a nightclub, have like a run club like the next day or something, like just some sort of like like a fusion between the two, maybe. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
really
it's an interesting one. Like the I think community is probably on a much bigger scale required for a
yeah,
nightclub these days. I think previously just being open and having cheap drinks was something that was you'd win. You could win the
yeah,
hey, I've got cheaper drinks than the guy next
yeah,
door. And our bartenders are hotter.
yeah,
I think really being conscientious of like what are we who are we?
yeah,
I think brand again comes into it. So I don't know if you can necessarily. I think being more conscious, like I think I said it at the start, where you need to be more conscious of those Monday to Fridays. Like,
yeah,
what can we do in this venue that's good that might access that health and wellness area as well
yeah,
as our community at large,
yeah,
are much more key rather than just we serve the best drinks and we have the hottest bartenders. I think that period of people where, and this is pretty common in the industry as well, is like, someone that has a bit of money that's in their 40 to 50s that's
Yeah,
like, oh, I'm a bit bored. I might go buy a club or I might go,
yeah,
buy a cafe. I think
yeah,
that time has passed because you need to actually be so attuned and dialed into the market.
yeah,
It's become much, a great, much more competitive,
yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah, and that's so apparent here in New Zealand. I don't know if it's the same there, but like we like there's like a cycle of every 3 4 months, I guess every quarter, where like a club launches and there's like a big 1 month like rollout for it, and it's gonna be the biggest launch night of the year, blah blah blah. They're bringing out some artists, etc., etc., and they come as fast as they go. Like they don't last for like more than 3 4 months. It's kind of scary as a business venture.
yeah. It's honestly, I've thought like owning a club is still something I want to do. I'm still
Yeah,
very much attached to the music industry, but
yeah,
I've stayed out of it because of that. Like there is just no safe way currently to see more than a 12 to 24-month timeline
yeah,
for a nightclub. Like if
yeah,
you're doing it, you're committing to losing a couple $1 million
yeah.
at
Exactly.
the moment. Like even to
Yeah,
fit it out and get the licenses and get through the first 6 months, as you said, like that first party, people are expecting to come to an opening of a nightclub and get free drinks.
yeah,
So that
of course.
first night, that's 50K night.
Yeah,
Just in
right.
alcohol, free
Yeah,
entry, the DJ, staffing, lighting, electricity,
yeah,
license, everything. That's just
yeah.
minimum 50K, and we haven't even done the fit out and paid the rent.
No, that's just the night.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
just the night.
yeah,
So yeah, it's not an industry that you can enter lightly, but it's definitely happening everywhere. And I mean, more and more people, like we have a group chat with a couple of mates where
yeah,
that's what we'll send. Is what you said.
yeah,
We'll go, oh, look at the new look at the new club that's opening. Let's
yeah,
check in with them in 6 months and see where
yeah,
they're at.
yeah, yeah,
And you try to, like a lot of the stuff though is unfortunately the industry is very much. I mean, the workforce as a whole is still stuck in this competitive space where
yeah,
it thinks everyone's trying to cut their lunch, where it should be much more communal.
yeah,
Um, Nightclubs in particular, they need each other.
yeah,
Like they feed off each other. If another venue is busy, you will get customers if they're in there, if they're in your circle,
yeah,
essentially. And I think the same goes for a marketing agency. The same goes for an accounting agency. Like if you can't fit, if a client's too small or too big for you, or you know a
yeah,
booking comes in and you can't take it, there should be other people in your circle that are the same business that you can feed and
yeah,
pass on. And I think, in particular, the entertainment industry, festivals, nightclubs, DJs,
yeah,
everyone should be taking more advantage of that kind of community.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's really interesting. Just one last question on this topic, real quick.
Hmm.
Do you think that like these, so like there's with the with the slow decline of a bunch of clubs, let's say, or like traditional clubbing in a sense, and there's obviously
Traditional
like a
clubbing, yeah.
natural, yeah, and there's a natural rise in daytime events and run clubs and so on and so forth. Do you think the latter could ever replace the night clubbing stuff, or will they just forever live in their own lanes?
And it's a tough guess because I think there'll always be people that enjoy nightlife. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I think nighttime is different people. Like
yeah,
some people just operate better at night and have more fun at night. You've got people that work all day and then want to, and their only free time is 9 to 12 at night.
yeah,
So I think there should always be and will always be a place for nightlife,
yeah,
but it will have to get tweaked a bit. I just don't think the previously it's like cheap drinks sweating on each other um, vibe is kind of there much
yeah,
anymore unless where it's attached to a Diplo or a Kanye or some sort of massive artist that we're dying to see, and even then like they're struggling to pull
yeah,
numbers. So you have to believe that there has to be some sort of tweak coming.
yeah,
in the long term for nightlife. Um, but I think that will also lean into venues, as I said, being able to look at something more in the daytime.
yeah,
But I don't think nightlife will ever disappear
yeah,
as a
yeah,
whole
for sure.
because I mean I love going out at
Yeah,
nights.
yeah. No, it's yeah, no, it's I don't yeah, I don't think it'll go away anytime soon. To be honest, I think it'll always have its people. I think in general it might just need to like get with the times, just like the wedding videography thing.
So yes,
It needs to adapt.
it needs to
Now,
hit 2025.
yeah, exactly. She got left in 1979. um, Brock, if you had, and this is just like to run things up, if you had to give one piece of advice to anybody listening or watching, be it marketing or life advice, what would that be?
um, I think, and I did a like obviously having three businesses, I had sometimes I got to conglomerate them and bring them together. So I had
Yeah,
actual a I would say like a conference, a mini conference for our business, our group, and
yeah,
brought everyone together. And I feel something that we really hit on is the need uh, to find your motivation and your why. Like I'm really I've found out over the years that I'm really lucky to be self motivated, which has allowed me to do a lot of things. And it's like that's why I run businesses is because I am self motivated. And it's difficult. That's why other people work for other people in businesses because they find it more difficult to do that. But I think anyone can find their reason to motivate, and it's like how do you tapping into that and figuring that out. And I feel like if you can find that for yourself,
yeah,
that'll tap into a whole bunch of other things for you in your life where
yeah,
you can set goals that you'd never believed you could set.
yeah,
I personally have had an issue this year where I had to revisit all of that stuff because I'd gotten to a happy place where I was like, oh, I don't really have to do I the goals that I'd set for myself, and now I can see them over there. Like I can
yeah,
actually see them in the distance. They seem attainable, whereas previously they felt dreamy and unattainable. And it's like once you get to that point, you hit this happy place and you hit a lull. So then you got to re-find that motivation and then that drive to kick on. But I think whenever I've been the happiest is when I've had that in my life and when I've been able to help other people find theirs. So I think, yeah, if you can allow the time in your life
yeah.
to tap into that, I think, anyone can find reward with that.
Well said, well said, well said. Is there anything that you'd like to um like? Is there anything exciting going on in any of the three businesses that you'd want to plug or promote? I'm rolling out the red carpet. Now is the time.
Well, as I said, like for our DJ business, we're expanding to Sydney and Melbourne. So if anyone
Yeah,
needs a DJ, hit us up.
yeah,
I mean, for exciting stuff, as I said, like socially aware is probably the most like DJ stuff is what I'm really really good at.
yeah,
I can talk about because I've been in the industry forever. But what I'm
yeah,
most excited about is content.
yeah,
So that's why I have Creative Cult and I work with Socially Wed as businesses because it's like there's just going to be no place in the future where we're not doing this kind of thing. And I think anything like Socially Wed that aggressively attacks
yeah,
the forebearers of a market and gets people like I get excited when it gets under people's skin in that
yeah,
way where you're like, how can you? It's like you initially asked me about it because you can see it straight away. It's like,
yeah,
how can you not get that? Like
yeah,
if you're at home and you are looking and you can say this to a videographer, photographer now that's literally in the wedding business. You're at home looking at your phone. Why do you not believe that other people are doing exactly the same
yeah,
fucking thing?
yeah,
Like, you could wake up.
yeah. It's really interesting. Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Brock, you've been an amazing first guest. Thank you for bringing the good times, as your LinkedIn promised. We couldn't have asked for a better person to help us kick off this new chapter for the YAP podcast. Where can people follow you and keep up with what you're working on next?
So at Brok Neilsen, and then at Together Agency AU are
Yeah,
generally where I post the most. So check them out.
perfect. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the newsletter, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.